I rise before the first pale light of dawn, my body already aching from yesterday's labours. Life on this emperor-forsaken agri-world has a rhythm as unyielding as the seasons themselves. Each morning is the same. The loudspeaker on the Hablock walls crackle with a pre-dawn hymn to the god emperor, reminding us that our toil is a sacred duty. I pull myself from the thin mattress in my cramped quarters, reciting a quiet prayer along with the tiny voice echoing outside. The prayer is meant to still our souls for another day feeding a galaxy that will never know our names. We spill out into the cool morning air, hundreds of us, indentured workers trudging toward the fields. Overhead the sky is a dusty grey, with faint stars fading. The fields stretch out to the horizon, endless rows of stubble and soil, waiting to be tilled and sown anew. Some distance away, I see the silhouettes of harvesters, crawlers and auto-oxen machines idling where we left them last night. The scent of churned earth and machine oil hangs in the air. My stomach rumbles. Breakfast won't come until midday, if we're lucky, and it will be the usual thin grox gruel scooped from the bottom of a barrel. As we march, Enforcer Rallin patrols alongside on his rickety motor trike, his black flak jacket and visored helmet making him look like Incitl, beast, lurking at the periphery of the herd. He carries a shock baton lazily across his lap and a slug pistol at his hip. The message is clear. Keep working. Keep in line or face the consequences. Raylan has used that baton before without hesitation. Last week I saw him drag off a man named Pell for falling behind quota. Pell was an older fellow, slow but kind. He used to share jokes with me during water breaks. Now Pell is gone. The next day, a new scorch mark by the storage sheds and the lingering smell of burned flesh told us all we needed to know. The overseers don't bother with funerals for the disobedient. I swallow and keep my eyes on the ground. There is a hollow feeling in my chest, but I dare not let anger or sorrow show on my face. Out here, even expressions can betray you. The God Emperor's prayer still rings in my ears, urging obedience, devotion, and productivity. I cling to it, trying to find comfort in the idea that my backbreaking work somehow serves humanity. But it's hard to feel noble when your belly is empty and your friends vanish for minor faults. We reach Field 23A, the patch of land assigned to my work team this season. The moment we arrive, the work begins without ceremony. I take hold of the heavy plough handle alongside my friend Gregor, and together we urge the auto-oxen forward. The modified beast of steel and vat-grown muscle snorts and jerks, pulling the plough blades through the dirt. Gregor is already sweating, his face set in a hard frown of concentration. Another lovely morning in paradise, Gregor mutters to me under his breath, voice dripping with sarcasm. I huff a quiet, humorous laugh. In truth, every day here feels the same. The sun climbs. The labour becomes a blur of repetitive motions, muscles burning, hands calloused around tools. We barely speak as we work, saving our breath and strength. By midday the sun is high and unforgiving. We break for a short meal under the watchful eye of Enforcer Rallin. Just as I feared, it's protein and gruel again, laced with stringy bits of grox meat, too gristly for the market. I choke it down, trying not to imagine which diseased part of the animal I've been given. Around me, the other labourers eat in exhausted silence or low murmurs. Gregor nudges me and nods toward the far end of the field, where a cluster of men whisper amongst themselves. They found something, out in the western fields yesterday, Gregor says softly. His tone catches my attention. There's an edge of unease in it. Found what? I ask. Keeping my voice low, one learns not to broadcast curiosity. It can be seen as gossip or worse, deceit. Gregor glances to ensure Rallan is out of earshot. A caracus, a grox from the stockyard, or what's left of it. He grimaces. Heard it was torn to pieces. They say a wild animal might have done it, but I don't know any beast that leaves a carcass shredded and half burned. A chill runs through me despite the midday heat. Wild animals on this planet are nearly unheard of. Pests and vermin get us exterminated quickly to protect the crops and livestock. And burned? Burned how? Like someone torched it? I whispered. He shakes his head. No, not like that. Joran, from maintenance, said it looked more like scorched from the inside. Like heat or radiation got to it. And there were symbols. Gregor trails off, hesitant. I set down my tin cup of gruel. Symbols? What do you mean? Before he can answer, the break is abruptly over. A klaxon attached to Rallan's trike blares a shrill note. Back to work, you lot, Rallan barks. Conversations die immediately. Gregor gives me a look that clearly says we'll speak later. Afternoon labour is even harder under a sun that seems determined to bake us alive. Each hour drags. My mind isn't on the work. However, I keep turning over what Gregor said. A shredded grok carcass with strange symbols. Perhaps some workers slaughtered a grox in secret to eat. Such thievery would be desperate but not unimaginable. Yet why burn it or carve symbols? And no one would waste good meat like that. The idea of a wild creature doing it is even more strange. What creature could do that to a grox? Those things are nearly as big as a bull and twice as vicious when provoked. By dusk we finally finish the day's quota of ploughing. My back throbs and my arms feel like lead. We trudge back to the barracks as the sky bleeds red and orange, the sun sinking behind distant grain silos. In the dimming light, the farmland that seemed dull by day takes on a darker mien. Scarecrow servitors stand sentinel as intervals, their glowing red optical sensors now sparking to life to ward off nightly pests or intruders. I've always found them eerie, half machine, half corpse, impaled on stakes to watch over the fields. As we pass one, its head whirs to track our motion, jaw clacking as it emits a recorded litany of protection. The words of the prayer would be comforting if they weren't issuing from such an empty husk of a voice. Gregor crosses himself and murmurs, "Throne protect us," a habitual response to hearing the Emperor's words, even from a servitor. Night falls quickly after sundown. The temperature drops, a biting chill replaced the heat. Once back at the barracks, I wash the dirt from my hands and face a communal pump, then collapse onto my bunk. Around me the other men do the same. A few muted conversations flit about, gripes about the day's toil, speculative whispers about the Grox carcass incident. I catch fragments. Torn clean through? Nothing left but bones and blackened guts. The hell kind of pest does this? The lights out call comes, plunging the barracks into darkness. Exhaustion anchors me to the mattress, but my mind still churns. I stare up at the corrugated metal ceiling, painted with flacking white wash that barely hides years of mould. In the distance, through the small high window above my bunk, I swear I hear a faint sound on the night breeze. It might be a scream, or it might just be a servo harvester's gears squealing far off. I'm not sure. I hold my breath, straining to listen. The night is otherwise silent. Perhaps it was my imagination. Out here under Imperial rule, you get used to the ignoring cries in the dark, whether from beasts or men. Still, unease twists in my guts. My last thought before sleeping finally drags me under is of the Grok's carcass and Gregor's unfinished sentence. Symbols. Something about that detail fills me with a quiet dread I cannot explain. I wake from fitful sleep before the morning revel, my heart still pounding from half-remembered nightmares. In those dreams, I heard the scream again. Only this time it was unmistakably human, echoing across the fields. For a moment I'm confused, unsure what the dream was and if it was real, but as I sit up on my bunk in the pre-dawn gloom, I realise two things. I'm drenched in cold sweat, and something is nagging at me to investigate. The barracks are quiet. More of the other workers are still asleep or just beginning to stir. Enforcer Rallen hasn't blown the wake-up horn yet. If I'm going to satisfy my curiosity about last night's noise, it has to be now. I quietly pull on my boots and slip out the barracks door into the chilly air. The compound is dimly lit by a few lumen globes on tall poles. I tread carefully, avoiding the main path. The memory of the faint scream, or what I thought was a scream, leads me around the side of the barracks, toward the tool sheds and a line of water tanks. The world is painted in shades of grey-blue before sunrise, and my breath ghosts in front of me. I nearly trip over something in the dirt, regaining my balance. I kneel to see what it is. My hands touch wetness. Even in the poor light, I know the dark smear on my fingertips is blood. A few feet away, near the corner of a shed, I find more, a trail of droplets, as if something or someone was dragged. My pulse quickens. It wasn't just a nightmare. I follow the tiny blood trail a short distance to a patch of distributed earth and broken fence wire behind the shed. There's a larger pool of blood here, soaking into the dust, and caught on the jagged wire is a scrap of cloth. I hold it up. It's a torn piece of grey work shirt, the kind we all wear. My mouth goes dry. One of us was attacked here, possibly killed. I suddenly feel exposed, crouching, out here alone. With only silence around me, I shoot a glance over my shoulder. The silhouettes of the servitor scarecrow dots in the far field, motionless. Nothing else moves. Hastily, I pocket the scrap of cloth and rub the blood from my fingers onto my trousers. I need to tell someone. At that moment, the shrill horn for wake-up blares across the compound. I flinch, nerves jangling. The others will be up now. Enforcer Rallen will expect everyone at muster. I spare one more look at the dark stain in the dirt and then force myself to hurry back. By the time I'm lined up with the rest of my work crew outside the barracks, the sky has lightened to a steel grey. My heart is still pounding from what I found. Gregor ends up beside me in line, yawning. He notices my restless fidgeting. "You alright?" he whispers under his breath. Before I can answer, Enforcer Rallen does a head count, pacing in front of us. He pauses, frowning. "Who's missing?" he growls. We all look around, counting silently. I realise the spot 2 down from me, where a younger man named Lafan usually stands, is empty. No one speaks at first. Rallen's visor sweeps over us. Where is Lafan Ma? When no answer comes, he steps directly in front of our line. "Who saw Ma this morning?" Murmurs ripple through the crew. People shake their heads. Someone at the end pipes up. "He bunks near me, sir. Wasn't in his bed when I woke." Rallen's face hardens. "And you didn't think to report that immediately? Useless clods." He mutters a curse and gestures to another enforcer who had been lounging by the hab entrance. "Check the latineries and storage lots. The rest of you stand by." My mind races. Lafan missing. The blood trail I found. It can't be a coincidence. Gregor nudges my elbow subtly, and I lean toward him. Laffan's gone? I whisper. Gregor nods, worry in his eyes. I take a small risk. I've found something. Behind the sheds. Blood. I murmur, barely audible. Gregor's face goes pale. Before he can reply, the second enforcer returns, shaking his head. No sign of him, boss. Latrin's empty. Rallan scowls. Deserter then. He raises his voice for all to hear. Ma has apparently decided to flee his duty. A few of us exchange uneasy looks. Running away? From an agri field in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere to go except endless plains and eventually the irradiated wastes beyond the arable zone. And even if Laffan did run, he'd be quickly caught or die of exposure. It doesn't add up. Rallan doesn't care about plausibility. You all know the punishment for desertion. He pauses to let that sink in. Execution. Usually public as a warning. A ripple of fear passes through the crew. Sir, Laffan wouldn't desert. A voice speaks up. To my surprise, it's Father Eamon, the elderly Ministoran, priest assigned to our community, stepping forward from where he often observes the morning muster. He's a slight, grey-haired man in a threadbare black cassock, and a quilla pendant hanging from his neck. His sudden interjection draws everyone's attention. Rallan turns, annoyed. What are you implying, preacher? Father Eamon raises his hand in a plasticking gesture. Only the boy was dutiful. Perhaps something unfortunate befell him. If he was taken ill in the night, wandered, disorientated. Rallan snorts. Ill or not, he's not here. I've reported as required. If he's AWOL, the administration will mark him down in the ledger of tithes as subtracted from this quarter's workforce. His tone makes it clear he won't waste more time searching. My fist clenches at my sides. Gregor whispers, "Should we say something about the blood?" I hesitate. If I speak up, Rallan might accuse me of covering up, or, throne forbid, blame me for Laffan's fate. Enforcers aren't known for their fair judgment. Before I resolve, Rallan orders us to move out to the fields. The morning's work is tense. There's a quiet chatter passing between furrows as labourers speculate about Laffan's disappearance. I keep scanning the horizon, half expecting to see a lone figure wandering, but nothing. Gregor and I work side by side, and at the first chance, I tell him in more detail what I found. His expression grows grim. We should tell Father Eamon. If anyone would listen, he might. Part of me balks. Father Eamon isn't part of the official authority structure, but he's the closest thing to a sympathetic ear we have, a comforting presence in this harsh life. I nod. Maybe at midday break. However, fate intercedes before that. Late in the morning, I'm hauling a sack of fertilizer toward a spreader machine near the far end of 23A, when I spot something odd at the field's boundary. There's a battered old scarecrow servitor mounted on a pole there, swaying slightly as it trains its sensor back and forth for crop pests. But right now it looks wrong. I call to Gregor, who is loading seed into a hopper a few yards away. Hey, come here. Do you see that? I point at the scarecrow servitor. From this angle, we can see its normally skeletal metal frame has something dark hanging on it. Gregor comes to my side, squinting. Is that a coat or something? He asks. I know it's not a coat. Dread tugging at my gut. I step off the field, leaving the sack. With each cautious step toward the servitor, the shape becomes clearer, despite my mind wishing it won't. Gregor follows a pace behind, breath held. The shape resolves into limbs, human limbs. My mouth goes dry as we get close to see the horror on the pole. It's Lafan. His body has been grotesquely draped over the metal T-frame of the Scarecrow servitor, arms outstretched like a mockery of the Emperor on the cross, head lolled to one side. His torso has been slit open from groin to sternum, and the cavity is empty, entrails removed. What's left of his innards hangs in ropes around the pole and splattered on the ground, along with swarms of flies. Gregor makes a strangled sound and turns, doubling over to retch. I would too, but I'm frozen, staring in shock and horror. The servitor, oblivious, still rotates mechanically, with Lafan's corpse nailed to it, a preserve parody of its function. A coppery stench hits me, blood and offal mix with a strange burnt odour that reminds me of ozone. Then I see it, on Lafan's bare chest, which has been flayed of skin in places. There is a symbol scorched or carved into the flesh, a rough 8-pointed star. It's large enough to cover his whole sternum, each point of the star ending in a bloody rune. My throat closes up. I don't know that symbol and what it means exactly, but deep in my gut I sense its pure heresy, an abomination. Finally my body remembers how to move and I stumble back, grabbing Gregor by the arm. We have to tell Rallan now, I manage to gasp. We sprint back toward where the work crews are. I wave my arms and shout until I get attention. Chaos erupts as word spreads about what we found. Workers are both curious and terrified, clustering together and murmuring prayers. Enforcer Rallan comes jogging over, hand on his pistol, barking at people to stay back. When Rallan and 2 other enforcers lay eyes on the gruesome display, even Rallan blanches. He mutters an oath I can't hear fully and signals us all to get back. We watch from a distance as the enforcers carefully remove Lafan's body from the servitor pole. One of them, a young enforcer, turns and vomits in the furrows. Father Eamon appears, moving through the crowd of labourers, a look of horror and sadness on his lined face. He immediately begins a prayer of absolution for Lafan's soul, the familiar litany quavering a bit on his lips as he beholds the mutilation. I find myself murmuring along automatically, seeking comfort in the words even as my mind reels. Rallan finishes conferring with the other enforcers, then turns to us, voice harsh to mask his unease. Back to the barracks, all of you. Work shift is over early. Go now. And keep your mouth shut about what you saw. We'll handle this. There's a tremor in his tone on the last part. Nobody needs telling twice. Tools are abandoned where they lie and a hasty retreat begins. Gregor and I stick close together as we move with the crowd. I catch a final glimpse of Father Eamon pressing a small Aquila pendant into Lafan's lifeless hand while murmuring last rites before we turn away. As we pass near, I overhear Rallan hissing to the other enforcer, Emperor's mercy. Who could do such a thing? The question hangs in the air, unanswered, as we leave the field behind. Back at the barracks, fear ripples through the workers like a cold wind. A murder, something vile and ritualistic, has happened in our midst. Doors are shut, whispers exchanged. Some of the men are openly weeping or praying. Gregor and I sit on my bunk, both of us pale and shaking. Those symbols on him. Did you see? Gregor whispers, voice trembling. I nod. I can still see them burned into my memory. We need to tell someone what we know. Maybe Father Eamon. He seemed to realize this wasn't normal. Maybe he can contact the Magistrum or the Arbites in the city. Gregor agrees quietly. We decide when things calm down this evening, we'll seek the priest privately. For now, All we can do is wait in this suffocating atmosphere of dread, as outside the sun reaches its zenith and begins to descend, bringing another night that suddenly seems far more frightening than any I've lived through before. Father Eamon meets with us in the small chapel adjoining the barracks after dusk. The chapel is a simple, prefabricated structure, barely large enough to hold 30 people on its metal benches. By the glow of a few candle stubs on the altar, I can make out the worried etched on the old priest's face as we relay everything. The strange Grox carcass rumour, the blood I found at the shed, the scrape of cloth which I handed to him, and the symbol we saw carved into Lathan's flesh. He listens intently, fingers steepled under his chin. The candlelight flickers in his eyes. When we finish, Father Eamon sighs heavily. My sons, these are dark tidings indeed. He traces the Aquila symbol over his chest. I have served on this world for 30 years and never encountered such blasphemy. Gregor, still shaken, asks in a hushed voice, Father, do you think this is cultists? Heretics? What could that symbol mean? Eamon's gaze drifts to the stained glass window depicting the Emperor's victory over a serpent beast. The coloured planes quiver with shadows. An 8-pointed star, he murmurs. It is a mark of the impure. In ancient text, it is called the Rune of Chaos. Hearing the word sends a shudder through me. Chaos. Every Imperial citizen knows of it only in cautionary tales and sermons, whispers of ruinous power, of demons and heretics who reject the Emperor's light. To think such evil could be here, in our quiet fields, it is almost beyond belief. Father Eamon must see the fear in our faces. He reaches out to clasp our shoulders. You were right to come to me. The Emperor tests our faith with this trial. We must remain steadfast. His voice is calm, reassuring. I will send word at first light to the Arbites precinct in Luzbek City. They need to know we may have a foul cult at work here. In the meantime, we must keep this as contained as possible. Panic will only aid the enemy's goal, whatever they may be. Do you understand? We both nod. His logic is sound. If there is a cult, they thrive on fear and disorder. Father Eamon offers a gentle smile. Gather the others now. We shall hold a short requiem for Lathan and a prayer for the Emperor's protection. Unity and faith will be our lanterns in the darkness. Within the hour, the entire workforce on site, about 50 of us, cram into the chapel and spill into the doorway. Many are still in shock, eyes red or faces pale. A few mutter that it must have been a madman or a mutant who killed Lathan. One man swears he saw something in the sky last night, lights or a shooting star. Omens, he claims. An older woman is clutching a token of Saint Helene and quietly sobbing. Father Eamon leads the congregation in the litany of protection. His voice is firm and sonorous, rising above the sniffles and murmurs. Through the darkness closes around. We shall not fear, for the Emperor is our light, our shield, our sword. By his will, let all wickedness be cast out. We respond at the appropriate lines. I find solace in the familiar ritual. Even if evil truly stalks our world tonight, at least we face it together in the Emperor's name. After the prayers, Father Eamon addresses the flock. My children, an unspeakable act has been committed, but we must not falter. I have consulted the holy texts, and I suspect a great enemy of man may be behind this. We will alert the authorities, but tonight I ask each of you to return to your quarters and bar the doors. Do not wander or linger outside. Evil feeds on carelessness. Watch over one another. If any strange occurrences happen, inform me or the enforcers at once. Trust in the Emperor's protection and in each other. Enforcer Rallan, standing stiffly at the back, adds curtly, no one goes anywhere alone. Travel in pairs, even for the Latran. Curfew until dawn. Anyone found outside without clearance will be assumed hostile. My men are on patrol. That is all. His authoritative bark actually reassures me a little. At least someone is taking charge in a practical way. Slowly we disperse. The workers shuffle back to their barracks in groups, casting fearful glances at the surrounding darkness. Gregor and I walk together, silent. Above 2 moons have risen, their weak light barely piercing the gloom. The fields are a black ocean around our little island of flickering lamps. Inside our barracks, a handful of bolder men have organised a rotating watch. No one will be caught sleeplessly, defenceless tonight. I'm too restless to lie down immediately, so I volunteer for first watch along with a fellow named Bren and one of Ryland's deputies, a stern woman called Marella. We station ourselves just inside the main door, peering out through a gap in the planks. Marella cradles a combat shotgun, its utilitarian bulk a welcome sight. Bren holds a metal pipe, knuckles white around it. I arm myself with a sickle. It's a flimsy comfort, but better than nothing. The first hours of the night pass quickly, broken only by distant mechanical clanks from the automated machinery that runs through the night, and the occasional rustle of wind through the crops. Marella does a sweep outside every 30 minutes or so, her flashlight beams cutting into the darkness between barracks and sheds. She reports no movement. At one point, as I'm staring out into the gloom, I notice a faint glow on the horizon. Beyond the furthest fields, it's hard to tell. Might be swamp gas or the reflection of a distant Prometheum silo flare. It flickers, then disappears. I mention it to Marella when she returns, but she's unconcerned. Probably just refraction off the moisture in the air, she says. Still, I feel uneasy. My shift ends near midnight. I wake Gregor to take my place and settle into my bunk, exhaustion finally catching up. As I drift into an uneasy sleep, I hear Gregor and the others quietly chatting by the door, speculating whether we'll last the night. Someone is reciting a soft mantra for courage. Their voices lull me until I fade into the dark. I find myself in a vast field of grain, under a blood-red sky. I am alone. The stalks of wheat whisper against each other, though there's no wind. The whispering grows louder, turning into distant screams. I try to run, but the field is endless. Suddenly, the wheat parts ahead, and I see a towering silhouette. Its eyes are twin embers, its form indistinct from the glint of curved horns and limbs too long and twisted to be human. It opens a maw, and the screams pour from it, a chorus of agony. The creature reaches for me across the sky, talons closing. I wake with a start, biting back a shout. Cold dawn light is seeping into the barracks. Around me, men stir from slumber or rise from their watch positions. My heart thunders as I realize it was just a nightmare. Emperor, what a dream. Yet it felt so real. I rub my eyes and sit up. Gregor comes over, blurry-eyed. You okay? You were mumbling in your sleep, he says quietly. I manage a shaky smile. Bad dreams, that's all. He nods, understanding. Likely we all had nightmares after yesterday. At least, as far as I can tell, nothing happened during the night. Perhaps the prayers and patrols kept whatever it is at bay for now. Little do I know, our reprieve is only temporary. Despite an uneasy night, morning brings a brittle hope that maybe the horror is over, but that hope dies quickly. Enforcer Rallan is grim-faced at muster, flanked by Marella and 2 other armed guards. He announces that he and a small squad will be heading out to investigate the western fields and beyond, towards where the Grok's carcass was found and where some odd lights were reportedly seen. My heart skips. Those must be the lights I noticed. Before they depart, Rallan pulls aside a few able-bodied workers, myself included. We are going to check the old granary and the abandoned farmsteads out past Sector 12, he explains curtly. Marson, you'll drive the hauler for us. Jonas, Gregor, you two stay here and keep folks calm. Father Eamon will coordinate security in camp. We might be out past nightfall if we have to search the marsh edges. I open my mouth, about to insist we come to help, but one look from Rallan silenced me. Perhaps it's for the best. I'm no soldier, and fear knots my stomach at the thought of encountering whatever butchered Lathan. Gregor gives me a slight nod. We'll do as ordered. We watch as Rallan, Marella, and 3 other enforcers load into an open-topped cargo hauler, along with 2 volunteers for drivers. Father Eamon stands beside the vehicle, offering them a blessing. He sprinkles each with holy water and intones, "Go with the Emperor's light and return safely." The enforcers check their weapons one last time. Shotguns, a las rifle, even a flamer unit slung over one man's shoulder. They look anxious but determined. As the hauler rumbles away down the dusty road, I feel a pang of dread. It's like watching our last offences drive off into the unknown. The day wears on with oppressive slowness. Those of us left behind are put into minor tasks, mostly busy work to keep idle minds from spiralling into panic. Father Eamon organises additional prayer circles at midday, and though I normally might chafe at constant piety, today is the only thing keeping everyone from cracking. He moves among the groups of workers, leading chants, comforting those on the verge of breakdown. I have to admire how much calm the priest projects. It helps me keep my own fear in check. By evening, the sky darkens with bruised clouds, threatening a storm. The hauler and search party have not returned. Gregor and I hover near the compound gate, scanning the horizon for any sign of headlights, dust trail, anything. Nothing. An hour after sunset, the storm breaks. Cold rain lashes the fields, and we retreat indoors. Thunder rumbles, masking any distant sounds. In the barracks, we huddle together in a single room, despite the cramped space, finding solace in numbers. Father Eamon joins us, leading a soft hymn to the Emperor to buoy our spirits. But I see the worry he hides behind his eyes. The enforcers should have been back by now. Suddenly, a sharp pounding at the barrack doors makes us all jump. Marella's voice, raw and urgent, calls out from outside. "Open up." Gregor and I rush to unlatch the door. Marella stumbles in alone, drenched and bleeding from a gash across her forehead. Her shotgun is missing. The entire room rises in alarm. We barrage her with questions. Where are the others? What happened? But she's gulping air, eyes wild. Father Eamon steps forward, easing her onto a bench. "Child, catch your breath. You are safe now. What of Enforcer Rallan and the rest?" Morella's face crumples. Dead. She managed to choke out. Gasps and cries fill the barracks. She continues hastily. We reached the old granary. It was dark, empty. Then they came from nowhere. Emperor have mercy. She breaks off, tears mixing with the rainwater on her cheeks. Who came? Cultists? I said quietly, feeling ice in my veins. She nods. Dozens of them, in the rain, robed with knives, guns. We didn't even see Rallan and the others. She swallows, clearly traumatized. We tried to fight. I emptied my shot rounds. They just kept coming. Marson was taken, dragged off alive, I think. Rallan, I saw him get hit with an axe or something. I ran. Emperor, forgive me, I ran. Morella's voice drops to a haunted whisper. They were chanting, some foul language I'd never heard. There was a creature with them. Her eyes flick to the priest and then away, as if afraid to even speak it. Father Eamon gently presses. What creature? Tell us, my dear. She shudders. In the lightning flashes I saw it, tall as 2 men, walking hunched, horn or spines on its back. It moved so fast it wasn't human. It tore Jack right in half. A collective moan of horror sweeps the room. Morella is trembling now, its eyes golden and glowing in the dark. I only survived because the rain was so heavy and I knew the path. I think I lost them. Emperor, I pray I did. As our words sink in, panic erupts. Some workers fall to their knees sobbing, others shout out in anger or confusion. A demon, an actual warp-spawn entity, loose on our lands. It defies reason, yet Morella's broken expression holds no deceit. Father Eamon raises his arms, voice ringing out, "Silence! Compose yourselves. We must stay together now more than ever." The authority in his tone quells the chaos. He turns to Morella, placing a hand on her head in blessing. "You have done well to return. Your warning gives us a chance. The Emperor surely guided your steps. To the rest of us," he says, "we will barricade this building and the chapel. Whatever evil is out there, we will not face it as scattered prey. Gather weapons if you can, tools, pipes, anything sharp. Form a perimeter by the windows and pray, my children, pray for the dawn and deliverance." Thunder booms as we hurriedly follow his directions. I grab a rusted machete used for cutting brush. Gregor clutches a heavy wrench. Fear threatens to paralyze me, but action gives a shed of focus. As I take my position by a window slit, peering into the rain-lashed night, I whisper to Gregor, "That thing she described, Emperor save us, it sounds like a demon. The world tastes bitter and unreal." Gregor's face is ashen. If that's true, then only faith can help, and maybe the Arbites if they come in time. He glances to Father Eamon, who is leading a low chant of "Emperor protect us." Among the others, while clutching his Aquila, the sight strengthens me a little. At least the priest seems unwavering. Lightning forks across the sky, illuminating the swaying silhouettes of the distant scarecrow servitors. Every thunderclap makes us flinch. We wait, breaths held, for some onslaught that may come, or perhaps the enemy will melt away into the stormy darkness. Minutes drag to hours. Aside from the storm's fury, nothing attacks. Eventually, exhaustion claims even fear. By the time the storm begins to ebb near dawn, no assault has come. Perhaps Morella did truly lose the cultists in the chaos. When pale morning lights filter in, the barracks interior is a scene of devastation in its own right. Grown men and women huddled together, many sweeping or deathly silent, the floor slick with mud from Morella's entry. Rallan and his team are gone, likely slaughtered or worse. Only Morella remains of our protectors, and she is traumatized and injured. As we unbar the doors and venture out into the post-storm fog, a heavy despair settles over me. The last semblance of order has collapsed. We are on our own, save for an aging priest, a wounded enforcer, and a dwindling supply of hope. Somewhere out there is the sodden fields and ruins. A cult of fanatics and a literal monster are preparing to strike again. The morning after the storm finds us broken and desperate. A few workers, panic beyond reason, argue that we should abandon the farm and flee toward the distant city on foot. Others shout them down. Wandering unarmed through miles of fields with a cult and monster on the loose is suicide. Father Eamon urges everyone to remain calm here, insisting that help will arrive. But with the Vox radio mysteriously dead and no signs of Arbites yet, Gregor and I share a look. We can't just sit and wait to be slaughtered. By midday, while most huddle in prayer or dull shock, Gregor and I quietly slip away. Armed with our makeshift weapons and a canteen, we sneak out on the compound under the guise of checking the water pumps. Morella, still recovering, spots us and gives us a silent nod of understanding. Perhaps she knows we intend to do what others don't. We trek westward, skirting the fields and sticking to drainage ditches for cover. The landscape is eerily calm. After the chaos of yesterday, mud sucks at our boots. overcast skies and everything in flat grey light. My heart hammers with each step, but purpose propels me forward. If we can find the cult's lair or survivors of Rallan's team, maybe we can do something, rescue someone, or at least give evidence to bring real Imperial retribution down on this horror. It takes over an hour to reach the old granary Morella mentioned. It's an abandoned ferrocrete silo and warehouse near the boundary of cultivated land. As we approach, a foul smell hits us, a mix of blood and charred flesh, even stronger than what I remember from Lathan's corpse. We find the remains of Rallan's search party in the muddy yard beside the granary. I clamp a hand over my mouth, stomach lurching. The bodies have been arranged in a grotesque display. Rallan is there, or parts of him. His severed head, still in its dented helmet, is mounted atop a broken fence post. Jack and the others lie, gutted in a crude circle, in trails splayed out to form some infernal pattern in the mud. Flies buzz in the thick clouds. Gregor turns away, gagging. I force myself to look, noticing something. The pattern drawn with the entrails resembles the same star symbol we saw on Lathan, albeit much larger. The cult clearly performed a ritual here after the massacre, maybe summoning that creature Morella saw. I whisper a prayer under my breath for the soul of the dead and press on. Among the carnage, there's no sign of Marson. The missing driver, Morella said, was dragged off. Tracks in the mud suggest several people were hauled away to the west, toward a line of low hills and scrubby woodland beyond the granary. Exchanging a determined nod, Gregor and I follow the trail. Each rustle of wind in the grass makes us flinch, but we see and hear no one. The trail leads to a small copse of twisted trees and an outcropping of rock, hidden by thorny bush in the entrance of what looks like an old root cellar or cave, reinforced with timbers. Faint voices drift from within, chanting, echoing off stone. We crouch behind the brush, hearts pounding. Gregor inches forward and peers through a gap in the wooden slats across the entrance. I do the same above him, and what I see stops my breath. The cavern beyond is dimly lit by guttering torches and braziers of coals. It's larger than I expected, perhaps a natural limestone cave expanded into catacombs. The stench of incense and blood wafts out. About a dozen figures in hooded robes stand in a semicircle, chanting in a guttural language that makes my skin crawl. At the centre is an altar carved from an old farm table, stained dark. Upon it lies Marson, the missing driver, naked and dead, chest brutally open. A robed cultist holds a sacrificial dagger aloft, and I recognize the worry frame, the grey hair, the voice leading the unholy prayer. It's Father Eamon. My mind reels in betrayal and disbelief. Father Eamon? A cultist? The cult leader? The kind old priest who comforted us is now chanting in praise to the ruinous powers, hands dripping with Marson's blood. I see now his cassock is off. He's in the same ragged robes as the others, an 8-pointed star medallion hanging at his chest. Gregor clamps a hand on my shoulder. I'm shaking with rage and horror. He whispers, "We have to go. Tell the others." But his eyes are wet. He looked up to Eamon like a beacon of hope, and now, before we can pull back, a deep growl reverberates from deeper in the cave. 2 glowing eyes ignite in the darkness beyond the altar. My blood turns to ice. The creature Morella described emerges partially into the torchlight. Its form defies full focus, a hulking horn silhouette, reefed in shadow, as if darkness itself clings to it. Clawed hands reach out, almost lovingly, toward the bloodied altar, and a snarling voice speaks in an unholy tongue. The demon, it's real, and the cult is communing with it. My terror gets the better of me. I inadvertently snap a branch under my foot as I recoil. The crack echoes like a gunshot. The chanting stops. Who's there? roars a voice from inside. Father Eamon, his tone no longer gentle but sharp with malice. Run, I hiss, shoving Gregor. We take off through the brush. Behind us, shouts ring out. Glancing back, I see robed figures pouring from the cave entrance, like enraged ants. A lasbolt zings past my ear and burns a hole in a tree trunk ahead. They have firearms. We sprint into the trees, ducking low. Gregor veers left as a cultist lunges out of the foliage swinging a cleaver. Gregor parries with his wrench, and I barrel into the attacker, knocking him aside. We keep running, branches whipping our faces. The cultists fan out, crashing through the undergrowth behind us. I count at least 8 on our heels. Fear fuels our speed, but the terrain and exhaustion are against us. As we break from the back toward the open field, a gunshot cracks. Gregor cries out and stumbles, tumbling to the ground. I skid to a halt and double back, adrenaline surging. Gregor's been hit. His pant leg is soaked with blood, a bullet wound in his thigh. He tries to stand but collapses with a groan. The cultists are close. I see their silhouettes at the tree line. Gregor shoves me weakly. Jonas, go, he wheezes. Leave me. You have to warn the others. I'm not leaving you. I grab his arm, trying to heave him up. Another las shot sizzles past. He cries out as I drag him a few steps, but he's limping badly. We won't outrun them like this. 3 cultists break into the open, weapons glinting. Desperate, I thrust my machete at the foremost one, a burly man with a sick grin. We trade blows. He slices my forearm, but I manage to ram the blade into his belly. He howls, and I kick him away, yanking the sickly machete free. Gregor, using his wrench as a crutch, swings at the second cultist, who gets too close, catching him in the jaw with a sickening crack. But the third cultist circles behind us. I spin too late. A heavy club strikes the back of my shoulder, and I sprawl forward, vision bursting white with pain. Go, Gregor shouts again, swinging wildly to keep our assailants back. 2 more robed figures appear in pursuit, and the demon's distant roar rolls across the field, driving icy panic through me. Terrors and tears of frustration and anguish mix with the rainwater on my face as I realise I can't save Gregor like this. He sees my hesitation and musters a fierce, brave smile through his pain. Jonas, live. Save yourself, please. Everything in me revolts at the idea, but survival instinct finally wins. With a sob of regret, I turn and run as fast as my exhausted legs allow, my shoulders screaming in agony. Behind me I hear Gregor's valiant yells, the thuds of struggle, and then his scream, raw and agonised, cut brutally short. I don't look back, I can't or I'll break. I sprint through the fields, half blind with tears and rain. But I know these fields intimately. I veer into an irrigation trench, keeping low. Eventually, the shouts grow more distant. After what feels like an eternity, silence falls, except for my ragged breaths and the distant rumble of thunder. Gregor is gone, my friend, sacrificed so I could escape. A wrenching sob forces its way out of my chest, but I choke it down. I have to warn the others in the farm that Father Eamon is the architect of this nightmare, and I have to accept that I'm likely racing back toward the final horror, not away from it. By the time I limp back into the farm compound, dusk is falling again. My shoulder throbs and every muscle screams, but I scarcely feel it over the numb grief for Gregor, burning need to expose Father Eamon. Rain drizzles, turning the yard into a mere. I burst into the barracks hall where a dozen survivors are gathered, Marella among them, leg bandaged, leading a prayer. All eyes snap to me as I stagger in, mud-caked and wild-eyed. Jonas, Throne, we thought you were taken too, Marella exclaims, rushing to steady me. The others crowd closer, bombarding me with anxious questions. I gulp air. Father Eamon, I pant. He's the cultist. Their leader. I saw him. A collective gasp. One man shakes his head. Emperor, no, it can't be. Others look unsure, fearful. Marella furrows her brow. Jonas, are you certain? Father Eamon has been with us, praying with us. It's a lie. Booms a voice behind the crowd. Father Eamon himself stands in the doorway of the chapel, adjoining the hall, his face a picture of shock and dismay. He steps forward, hands raised as if soothing a skittish beast. My son, you were injured and distraught. Please, everyone remain calm. The heretics must have filled his mind with delusions. Rage flares in me. Delusions? I watched you sacrifice Marson on an altar. I shout, pointing an accusatory finger at Eamon. I saw the star of chaos around your neck, the blood on your hands. His expression flickers, only for a heartbeat, but I catch a glimpse of cold malice beneath the kindly facade. Some of the workers back away from him now, uncertainty dawning. Eamon's eyes narrow, realizing his cover is slipping. His voice drops its gentle cadence. And who will you trust? He hisses, lips curling. A delirious labourer, or the Emperor's ordained priest? Marella steps between us, shotgun in hand, though aimed at the floor. Her face is conflicted. Father, if you're innocent, why is Jonas saying these things? He has no cause to lie, and the horror out there, someone led it to us. Eamon's gaze darts about. He sees doubt growing in the faces around him. His jaw tightens, falls. He spits suddenly, a venomous tone that shocks everyone, blind to the very end. In one swift motion he pulls something from beneath his robes, a compact las pistol. Before anyone can react, he fires. Marella cries out and falls, clutching her midsection. Screams erupt. For a split second, Eamon and I lock eyes. Gone is the gentle shepherd. I see a fanatic, eyes alight with unholy conviction. He turns and bolts through the chapel door into the night. Traitor, stop him, I roar, leaping over to Marella. She's down but alive, a scorched wound in her side. Two workers rush to tend her. I grab the fallen shotgun from her grasp and sprint after Eamon, fury leading me with strength. Outside, darkness and rain swallow everything. I catch a glimpse of Eamon's form heading west toward the distant hills, back to his profane sanctuary. I pump the shotgun and fire a wild shell after him, but he's too far. The shot thuds into the mud. A couple of braver workers emerge behind me, one with a lantern. Emperor preserves Jonas. What do we do? One whimpers. I grit my teeth. He'll be going to rejoin the cult. They're performing some final ritual to bring that demon fully here. I heard enough to know. We can't just wait to die. I'm going after him. They look at me as if I'm mad. Perhaps I am, but Gregor's scream still rings in my ears, and I won't let that be in vain. I gesture at the barricaded hall. Stay inside. Tend to Marella. If I'm not back by dawn, do what you can to survive or flee. Emperor be with you. Before they can protest, I take off, following Eamon's fading tracks, each step in agony, but I push through it. Shotgun heavy in my hands, thunder growls overhead once more, and an unnatural red tinge ignites the clouds in the distance. The same direction I'm headed, the storm is returning, and something far worse with it. All I know is that this ends tonight, one way or another. The rain turns to a downpour as I near the cult's cavern. Thunder rips the sky, illuminating the hills in stark white flashes. I move as a shadow among shadows, adrenaline numbing the pain of my wounds. At the tree line by the cave mouth, I slow and crouch low. The wooden plank door that once hid the entrance lies shattered. From deep inside echoes a low, guttural chanting and a pulsating red glow. The ritual is underway. Clutching the shotgun, I creep into the tunnel. The air inside is sweltering and thick with the coppery scent of blood and pungent incense. Each step forward, the chant grows louder, more frenzied. I recognize Father Eamon's voice leading the litany in some profane tongue, interwoven with inhuman growls, and set my teeth on edge. Peering around the corner, I behold the ritual chamber I saw earlier, now at its hellish credeso. A dozen or more cultists encircle the altar, which is heaped with gore. The corpses of poor victims have been flayed and arranged in visceral patterns of the Chaos Star across the cavern floor, their blood filling the grooves carved into the stone. Atop the altar, lit by a flickering torchlight, lies the body of Gregor. My breath catches. His chest has been brutally opened, heart removed, eyes staring vacantly at the ceiling. I bite down on a cry of anguish and rage. Eamon stands over Gregor's body, dagger held high, chanting loudly. His robe is shed to the waist, his thin form splattered with blood. At his feet a large iron-bound tome lies open, no doubt filled with warp spells. The other cultists sway and tone in unison, eyes rolled back in ecstasy, and looming behind the altar is a demon. It is more solid now than before, forcing its way into reality. It crouches like some gargantuan beast, its vaguely humanoid shape distorted by scales and shadow. Two curling horns scape the cavern roof, its eyes smoulder like hot coals, fixed on the altar and the sacrificed blood there. The very sight of the thing almost roots me in paralyzing terror. I have one chance. If I can disrupt the ritual or kill Eamon, maybe, just maybe I can stop this. Summoning every ounce of my resolve, I step from the corridor into the chamber, bracing the shotgun. I aim straight at Father Eamon's defiled heart and pull the trigger. The boom is deafening in the enclosed space. The slug catches Eamon mid-chant. He jerks, the dagger falling from his grip at the impact knocks him against the altar. For an instant, stunned silence. The chanting ceases. Several cultists cry out in alarm. The demon's gaze snaps toward me, lips pulling back in a snarl. Emperor's wrath upon you, I snarl, pumping the shotgun and firing again to the cultists. A robed woman near the altar is blasted off her feet, blood misting from her chest. Chaos erupts. Some cultists charge at me with sacrificial blades. Others draw primitive firearms. I keep moving, adrenaline leading me uncanny clarity. A pistol round whizzes past my ear. I fire a third time, shredding a tattooed cultist who lunged too close. But a second later, another devotee slams into me from the side, tackling me to the ground. I lose my grip on the shotgun as we hit the slick stone floor. He raises a jagged knife. I grab his wrist, struggling desperately. His face is a mask of rage and zealotry. With my free hand, I fumble at my belt and pull my sickle blade, driving it under his chin. He gurgles and goes limp. I scramble up, soaked in his blood, and snatch the fallen shotgun. My lungs burn, ears ringing. Across the chamber, a wounded Father Eamon has pulled himself upright, one hand pressed to the bleeding wound in his side where I shot him. Our eyes lock through the haze of smoke and blood. You have failed, Eamon, I shout over the cacophony. Two cultists still alive hesitate, seeing their leader wounded. The demon snarls impatiently behind him, as if waiting for completion of the ritual. Father Eamon coughs wetly, but to my surprise he starts to laugh, a ghastly wet chuckle. Foolish boy, it's too late. He wheezes. His bloody hand suddenly grabs the great tome on the altar. With a final shouted phrase of incantation, he spits blood and collapses to his knees, but the cavern begins to shake. A peril of unnatural thunder reverberates from the ground. The pattern of blood on the floor ignites in lucid warm light. The surviving cultists cry out in exhaustion, even as they cower. I stagger, trying to keep my footing. The demon rises to its full, towering height and roars, a sound that is agony and madness made audible. With a splintering crash, its form fully manifests. Reality buckles around it. Some torches snuff out, others flare wildly. In a single sweep of an enormous claw, the demon swats aside the altar like kindling. Father Eamon, still kneeling, is sent sprawling. The creature pounces upon him with a savage, animalistic snarl. Eamon's scream is brief as he is torn open, blood spraying. The cult leader is dead, ironically, by the very ambition he served. But the demon is not sated. Its burning eyes turn on me next, the lone living intruder in this desecrated place. It speaks a guttural voice that bypasses my ears and reverberates in my skull, a stream of hissing, hateful words I cannot understand, but I need no translation to feel the malevolence bearing down. My shotgun has only one shell left. I raise the barrel at the monster and fire point blank. The shot strikes its hide with a flash of sparks, but the demon only snarls, dark ichor oozing from a minor wound on its obsidian flesh. The creature seems more amused than harmed. Cold dread fills me as it steps over the altar's ruins, coming for me. The remaining cultists either lie dead or laugh in insane delight at seeing their god made flesh. I back away until I feel the rough cave wall at my rear. There is nowhere left to run. The beast lunges. Clawed hands seize me with pitiless strength, lifting me off my feet as if I were a ragdoll. I thrash, hammering the shotgun stock against its arm to no avail. The demon's maw opens, rows of jagged fangs streaming with foul breath. Pain explodes through my body as it drives a horn through my abdomen. I can't even scream. Blood wells up in my throat. The creature hurls me down onto the stone floor. I hear something crack within me. White hot agony pins me in place. My vision swims. Through the haze of pain I dimly see the demon loom over me, dripping the gore and victory. In this moment, strangely, the fear ebbs. Perhaps my mind is dying already, or perhaps I see something beyond the monster. The night sky visible through a break in the cavern ceiling, the storm clouds parting to reveal distant stars. My lips move in a final prayer, whether the Emperor on terror or anyone who might hear a dying man's plea. I'm not sure what I even asked for. Forgiveness? Vengeance? Mercy? The demon raises one colossal claw for the killing blow. Gregor, I'm sorry. It strikes. Darkness engulfs me, merciful and total. In my last instant, I think I hear a thunderclap and see a flash of brilliant light, too bright to be lightning, rending the sky above. But it comes far too late, and then all is lost to the black. Thus ends our harvest in blood and shadow.